Assalamu alaikum students. Today we will do the development of male reproductive system, that is the male genital system. And you know that the reproductive system is also derived from the intermediate mesoderm. The intermediate mesoderm, it forms a urogenital ridge in the dorsal wall on each side of the aorta, dorsal aorta. Now each urogenital ridge, you know, have got two parts: a ventromedial part known as the genital ridge, gonadal ridge, which will form the gonads, the testes or the ovaries, and a dorsolateral part known as nephrogenic cord, which gave rise to the kidney system, which we have studied previously. Now after 6 weeks, now this genital ridge mesenchyme, it will give rise to the either the male or the female gonads. Now this depends upon the now genetic sex of the individual, of the embryo, is determined at the time of fertilization, and it depends upon the presence or absence of the Y chromosome in the fertilizing sperm. The short arm of Y chromosome contains SRY gene. The protein product of this gene is a transcription factor called testes determining factor. Now under the influence of this testes determining factor, the genital system develops into male type, whereas in the absence of this testes determining factor, this the genital system, it assumes the characteristics of females. Now until up till 6 weeks, this genital mesenchymal ridge, it shows no differentiation in male and female, while after this 6 weeks, in the 7th week, the differentiation into male and female phenotype starts. So this is the genital ridge, you can see here. This is the nephrogenic cord. It is the mesonephros part of the nephrogenic cord, and here lies the gonadal ridge. So in male and female, you can see here the gonadal ridge. It has got 3 components. 2 components are shown here, the coelomic epithelium and the local mesenchyme of the ridge and the coelomic epithelium. And third component not shown here is the primordial germ cells. Now in the genital system begins to develop during the 5th week of development. However, during the 5th and 6th weeks, all the 3 components of the genital system, that is gonads, genital ducts and external genitalia, in the male as well as female embryos are similar, and distinction of sex cannot be made by inspection of the genital system during this period, which is called indifferent stage of sexual development. During the indifferent stage, the primordial germ cell migrate from the yolk sac into the developing gonads. You can see here they are migrating through the dorsal mesentery into the developing yolk sac, gonads. The differentiation of the genital system into male or female type starts with the differentiation of gonads that begin in the 7th week of development. Following the differentiation of gonads, differentiation of the genital ducts and external genitalia occurs under the influence of hormones produced by the gonads. Now the development of the gonads. The indifferent gonad. First of all, the indifferent gonads. The gonads are derived mainly from the intermediate mesoderm, as I have told you, that forms a pair of urogenital ridges on the dorsal body wall, one ridge lying on each side of the midline. The medial part of each urogenital ridge, called the gonadal ridge, is the site of development of the testes in the male embryo and ovary in the female. Now in the 4th week of development, the gonadal ridges are seen to be located on the medial aspect of the mesonephroid. You can see here these are the tubular system derived from the mesonephric cord, mesonephroid, part of the mesonephric nephrogenic cord, and the gonadal ridges, developing gonadal ridges, they lie medial to these mesonephroid. In both sexes, the gonadal ridges are formed by cells derived from following three sources: the coelomic epithelium, the local mesenchyme, and the mesenchyme of the mesoderm, and this is the primordial germ cells arriving in the developing gonads. In the beginning of 5th week, the coelomic epithelium covering the gonadal ridges, this is the coelomic epithelium covering the gonadal ridges, proliferate and become many layers thick. The mesenchyme underlying the coelomic epithelium becomes condensed. During the 4th week, the primordial germ cells begin to migrate from the wall of the yolk sac via the mesentery of the hindgut and reach the genital ridges by the 6th week of development. Arrival of primordial germ cells induces the coelomic epithelium covering the gonadal ridge to form finger-like projections, finger-like epithelial cords, which are called the primary sex cords, to invaginate into the mesenchyme. Now the coelomic epithelium, they form cords which invaginate the mesenchyme. These are known as primary sex cords. The primordial germ cells become embedded within these cords. The indifferent gonad now consists of an outer region called the cortex and an inner region called the medulla. So this is the outer region and this is the inner region, medulla. Both regions are present in the gonads of male and female embryo during the indifferent stage. However, after 6th week, they pursue different fates in the male and female. In the male embryos, the medulla differentiate into testes and the cortex regress, while on the other hand, in female embryos, the cortex differentiate into ovary and the medulla undergoes regression. Now the development of testes. In the male embryo, the coelomic epithelial cells of the sex cords contain an XY sex chromosome complement. Presence of SRY gene on the Y chromosome results in production of testes determining factor within the cells of the primary sex cords. Under the influence of the transcription factor, the primary sex cords become prominent and penetrate deeper into medulla during the early part of the 7th week of development. The epithelial cells in the medullary portions of the primary sex cords differentiate into the Sertoli cells, whereas the cells in the cortical part of the sex cords degenerate. Now here you can see the cells lying in the cortical part, they are degenerating, while cells lying in the medullary part, they will differentiate into the Sertoli cells. The sex cords of medullary region of the developing gonad are now termed as testes cords, and the testes cord consists of Sertoli cells and the primordial germ cells in them. Near the hilum of the developing testes, the testes cords give rise to a network of cell strands that will later form the rete testes. Here you can see the rete testes. These are the testes cords and they contain the Sertoli cells and the primitive primordial germ cells. As development proceeds, the testes cords become separated from the coelomic epithelium. They are separated and by a dense layer of condensed mesenchyme, which give rise to thick layer of dense irregularly arranged connective tissue around the testes. This connective tissue capsule of the testes is known as tunica albuginea. So you can see here the tunica albuginea and the cords are separated from this tunica albuginea. Connective tissue septa grow in from the tunica albuginea to divide the substance of testes into compartments called testicular lobules. The coelomic epithelium of each testis flatten to form a layer of mesothelium outer to the tunica albuginum. Now some cells of the original mesenchyme of the gonadal ridge differentiates into interstitial cells of Leydig, and during the 6th and 7th week of development, these cells begin to secrete androgenic hormones known as testosterone and androstenedione by the 8th week. These hormones induces the differentiation of genital ducts and external genitalia toward a male pattern. The testes cords remain solid and do not acquire lumen. They do not acquire the lumen during the fetal life and the childhood. When puberty arrives, lumen begin to develop within the solid cords, which now become the seminiferous tubules and retitestes. These are the retitestes, these are the seminiferous tubules. The walls of the seminiferous tubules are composed of two varieties of cells, Sertoli cell and the male gametes, which are called the spermatogonia. So after becoming canalized, the seminiferous tubules, they join the retitestes tubules, which become connected to 15 to 20 mesonephric tubules that become the ductuli efferentes of the testes. These efferent ductules open up into the mesonephric duct, which ultimately forms the ductus epididymis and the ductus deferens. So this is the mesonephric duct, this is the ductuli efferentes, and they are opening up into the retitestes, and retitestes are opening up into the loop of seminiferous tubules, or we can say that seminiferous tubule loop opens up into the retitestes, and retitestes in turn opens up into the efferent ductules or ductuli efferentes, and then the efferent ductuli efferentes it initially opens up into the mesonephric duct, and this mesonephric duct later on forms the ductus epididymis and the vas deferens. Now development of genital duct. Again, these genital duct development is also got an indifferent stage in which we cannot differentiate that the ducts will develop into female or male pattern. Now during the 5th and 6th weeks, the sex of the embryo cannot be distinguished because both male and female embryos have two pairs of genital ducts, a pair of mesonephric ducts and a pair of paramesonephric ducts. You can see here, this is the mesonephric duct, and you know from where it is derived, and the paramesonephric duct. Now this stage is called the indifferent stage of genital duct development. Formation of Wolffian ducts, mesonephric ducts, which are also called Wolffian ducts, occur with the development of the kidney from the mesonephrogenic cord. Each mesonephric duct is originally formed as main excretory duct of the mesonephric kidney. The mesonephric duct do not disappear with the degenerating mesonephros, but persist in the male as well as in the female embryo during the indifferent phase of genital duct system development. During the stage of differentiation, the mesonephric ducts form the genital ducts of the male, whereas in the female embryo, these ducts they disappear. Now, this is the developing male. You can see the testes is developing. This is the mesonephric duct, and this will develop into the male genital ducts, while in the female these ducts will regress. Okay, now the paramesonephric ducts, also called the Mullerian ducts, develop during the 5th week. A mesonephric duct develops just lateral to each mesonephric duct in the male as well as female embryo. This duct is formed by invagination of epithelial strip on the anterolateral aspect of urogenital ridge. The funnel-shaped cranial end of each Mullerian duct opens up into the peritoneal cavity. You can see this funnel shape, and it is opening up into the peritoneal cavity, and distal portion is going into the urogenital sinus. Now caudally, each paramesonephric duct runs parallel to the mesonephric duct until it reaches the pelvic region of the developing embryo. Here the paramesonephric duct crosses ventral to the, now here you can see it is crossing ventral to the mesonephric duct to reach the midline, where it comes in contact and fuses with the paramesonephric duct from the opposite side. The common wall between the fused paramesonephric duct disappear, and a tube with a single cavity is thus formed. So this differentiation occurs in the female reproductive system. In the stage of differentiation, the paramesonephric duct gives rise to the female genital ducts, whereas the male embryo, these ducts regress and disappear almost entirely. The development of genital ducts in male: during the 7th week, the developing testes begin to secrete two hormones, that is testosterone, which is produced by the interstitial cells of Leydig, and Mullerian inhibiting substance MIS, that is secreted by the Sertoli cells. Here you can see the Mullerian inhibiting substance by Sertoli cells and the testosterone by Leydig cells. The testosterone stimulates the mesonephric tubules and mesonephric duct to differentiate into male genital ducts. The Mullerian inhibiting substance secreted by the Sertoli cells, they causes the paramesonephric ducts to regress. When the mesonephros regress, some caudal mesonephric tubules and the mesonephric duct persist to contribute to the formation of genital ducts. Persisting mesonephric tubules can be divided into two groups: epigenital tubules, which are located opposite to the hilum of the developing testes, and paragenital tubules, which are located near the caudal pole of the testes. Now, under the influence of testosterone, the epigenital tubules unite with the cords of future retitestes, and therefore these tubules are called ductuli efferentes. The entire group of paragenital tubules is functionless and does not join the retitestes. These tubules regress but do not disappear completely. Their remnant is called paradidmus. I will show you in the next diagram. Now, here you can see the developing testes. The medullary portion of the testes is developing into testes cords, and these in turn are connecting with the retitestes. Now, these are the efferent tubules of the mesonephric system. Now, the efferent tubules which are present along the testes are the epigenital tubules, and that lie below the testes are the paragenital tubules. Now, the persisting mesonephric tubules can be divided into two groups, as I have told you: the epigenital tubules, which are located opposite the hilum of developing testes, and the paragenital tubules, which are located near the caudal pole of the testes. Under the influence of testosterone, the epigenital tubules unite with the cords of the future retitestes, and therefore these tubules are called ductuli efferentes or efferent ductules. The entire group of paragenital tubules is functionless and does not join the retitestes. These tubules regress but do not disappear completely, and their remnant is called paradidmus. The most cranial end of the mesonephric duct degenerates, leaving a small remnant called the appendix epididmus. Appendix epididmus. In the adult male, the appendix epididmus is present as a small stalked appendage attached to the head of the epididmus. The portion of mesonephric duct adjacent to the developing testes become highly convoluted to form the highly convoluted part to form the
Ductus epididymis. Distal to the epididymis, the mesonephric duct remains straight but acquire a thick coat of smooth muscle and form the efferent ductus deferens. A small outgrowth from the caudal end of each mesonephric duct give rise to the seminal vesicle. Distal part of the seminal, this ductus deferens, it will give rise to the seminal vesicle. The portion of the mesonephric duct between the seminal vesicle and urethra, it becomes the ejaculatory duct. So this part will form the ejaculatory duct. The paramesonephric ducts in male regress and disappear during the 9th and 10th weeks under the influence of anti-Mullerian hormone. However, remnants of the cranial and caudal ends of paramesonephric ducts are found in the adult male. The cranial end of each paramesonephric duct leaves a remnant called the appendix testis. So this is the appendix testis. This is the cranial end. So this appendix testis, which is found in adult as a small cap of tissue attached to the upper pole of the testes. The uterine canal formed from the fusion of most caudal parts of the paramesonephric duct is represented in the adult male as prostatic utricle. This is the prostatic utricle, which is a small diverticulum that opens up onto the seminal colliculus. The seminal colliculus is a small elevation located in the posterior wall of the prostatic urethra. You know it from the knowledge of your gross anatomy. The male external genitalia, it consists of the penis and the scrotum, which lodges the testes. So now the development of external genitalia. Now it consists of two phases, two stages, the indifferent stage and the different stage. In indifferent stage, the early development of external genitalia is similar in both male and females. From the 4th to 7th week, the external genitalia are sexually undifferentiated. Distinguishing sexual characteristics begin to appear during the 9th week, but external genitalia do not become fully differentiated until the end of the 12th week. In the early 4th week of development, the mesenchymal cells derived from the tissue of the primitive streak migrate to occupy a position around the cloacal membrane. You know what is cloacal membrane? From the previous lecture, you know that the cloaca is connected to the outside by a cloacal membrane. So this mesenchymal tissue, it comes in the 4th week, it comes to lie around the cloacal membrane. These cells give rise to a pair of swellings known as cloacal folds. So these are the cloacal folds, one of which is located on either side of the cloacal membrane. Just cranial to the cloacal membrane, the cloacal folds unite to form a small swelling known as genital tubercle. So this is the genital tubercle, which is the cranial part of the cloacal fold. During the 7th week, the urorectal septum fuses with the cloacal membrane and divides the cloacal membrane into the anterior part known as urogenital membrane and a posterior part called the anal membrane. You remember from the previous lecture. The cloacal folds also become divided into two parts. The cranial part is the urethral fold and the caudal part is the anal fold. Very soon afterwards, a swelling appears lateral to each urethral fold. These swellings are known as genital swellings or labiosacral swellings, labioscrotal swellings. By the end of 7th week, the urogenital membrane disintegrates and disappears. As a result, this membrane, this whitish part, it disappears. As a result, the phallic part of the urogenital sinus loses its floor and now opens up into the amniotic cavity. The opening of the urogenital sinus is in the form of a cleft-like groove called the urethral groove. This groove is lined by the endoderm and bounded on each side by the urethral folds. Now the development of this was the indifferent stage. Now the different stage of development of the male external genitalia, that is in the male, the fetus, in male fetus, the indifferent external genitalia differentiate into male type. The fetal testes begin to produce testosterone in the 8th week of development. The testosterone enters the target tissues where most of it is converted into dihydrotestosterone by the 5-alpha reductase enzyme. Differentiation of the indifferent external genitalia into the male type occurs under the influence of dihydrotestosterone. First of all, the genital tubercle, it begins to increase rapidly in length. Here you can see the genital tubercle, it increases rapidly in length and it forms the primordium of the penis called the phallus. The elongating phallus pulls the urethral folds so that the urethral groove comes to lie on the ventral surface of the developing penis, that is the inferior surface. The most distal, somewhat dilated part of the developing penis, called the glans penis, becomes distinct from the shaft of the penis by the appearance of shallow sulcus at the junction of glans and the shaft. Here you can see at the junction of the glans and the shaft, this is the glans penis and this is the shaft. The urethral groove does not extend into the glans penis. The epithelial lining of the urethral fold becomes thickened to form the urethral plate. During the 7th and 8th week, the urethral fold fuse in the median plane. Here you can see the urethral plate formation and the urethral folds. They fuse in the midline. Ultimately, they fuse completely, and this is the lumen of the penile urethra. The urethral groove is thus converted into endodermal line canal, which lies within the penis, and it is known as penile urethra or spongy urethra. Because the urethral groove does not extend to the tip of the penis, the penile urethra is initially blind-ended tube. The terminal part of urethra is ectodermal in origin, as I have told you before, and is formed during the 4th month in the following manner. A solid cord of ectodermal cells grows inward from the apex of the glans penis. You can see here, from apex of the glans penis, solid cord of ectodermal cells, they grows inwards. This cord meets and fuses with the endodermal penile urethra. Complete canalization of the ectodermal cord occurs during the 5th month. This results in completion of the terminal part of the urethra and carries the external urethral meatus to the tip of the glans penis. The genital swelling, now these genital swellings which were located laterally to the urethral folds, these are the genital swellings. They grow in the caudal direction and also move towards each other. Finally, they fuse in the midline to form the scrotum. So here you can see the formation of scrotum. Externally, the line of fusion of genital swellings persists as scrotal raphe, whereas internally the two halves of the scrotum are separated by the scrotal septum.